All right. Hello and welcome to A Conversation with Standards. If this is your first time diving into things What Was That Radio, it's a place to dive into via whatwasthatradio.com and discover pure modern rock. I'm talking over 5,000 bands and songs. The oldest we go back is 2017, and 90% of the playlist are releases from 2020 onwards. That was a strange way of saying 2020. First time we've used that sound effect in the intro, though I do know, as I've just wrapped this conversation and Twitch stream and now recording this intro, that is technically the fourth time, if you get there, that the Budum Ting has been used today within the Standards conversation. Standards are a two-piece. They are led by the most incredible and wonderful soul, Marcos, one of the most nuts guitar players on this flipping planet. The second record, Fruit Town, came out a few weeks ago. Well, this is speaking at the start of August in 2022, depending when you discover this chat. The debut album came out 2020. It's called Fruit Island. There's been a few EPs out there as well. And let's just get nerdy. I love diving into the context and understanding the foundation of where these creations came from, what the artist is thinking, and Marcos was more than willing to dive into that, as what he does, first described as non-sexy info, to me is highly sexy. If I always feel uncomfortable saying the word sexy. Fifth time we've used the Budum Ting today. Thanks for being here. To find out more about What Was That Radio, again, please go to whatwasthatradio.com. And also please consider liking or commenting on this Patreon post or this YouTube post or this Instagram post or wherever this video shows up, because I'd really appreciate it. Here's a conversation with Standards.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I'm good, thanks, Marcos. Are you in
nice to meet you.
I'm John. I don't know if you're able to turn your camera on or if you're comfortable or not comfortable. Be comfortable. That's the most important thing, whether you want to do that or not.
Sure. No, I'm just in the back of a venue, so it doesn't look very sexy, and I'm on my phone. So I don't know if that's an issue.
No, that's not an issue.
But, okay.
No, it's fine, because you're in Nashville tonight right now, right?
Yeah, here, I'll see. This is what I'm working with. I'm outside.
Awesome.
So, don't know if this is too weird.
No, it's not too weird at all. No, I couldn't believe that you agreed to do this, considering you are in the thick of it right now. After all those years of not being able to get out there and now doing what feels like a show every day for eternity, I didn't think that your team was going to get back and say, let's do it on the 1st of August.
Yeah, why not?
No, I really appreciate it. So what's the venue that you're at tonight? I know very little about Nashville. Please educate me.
Oh, we're at The End, which is a venue. It's like a dual venue with exit in, which is actually over there. You can see. So I'm behind the venue right now. They have like a green room, but it's going to be probably pretty noisy in there. So I feel like this is probably our best bet.
Yeah, this is awesome. And do you have sound check soon, or what window have we got here?
Yeah, we have sound check. Actually, maybe let me see if I can go into the car here. Maybe that might work. Hey, dude, do you have the key?
No.
Who's doing that?
I think Victor.
What the fuck?
All right,
All right, 1 sec. You have the keys to the car? Mind if I do an interview in there? Thanks, dude. So we're gonna go live soon, right?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Oh, awesome. Well, let me get all set up, and then we should be good.
Yeah, man. Just make sure you crack a window so you don't fucking boil.
Oh no, we have AC, so should be fine. Should be all good. Look at me. I'm in tour mode in my tour van.
And if you're able to go widescreen, that would be awesome. I don't know if that helps the phone balance a bit better too.
All right. How's that?
Sweet. That's great. Thank you.
Sweet.
And I'll quickly adjust that in the old chat there. Zoom it a bit. Marvelous. Well, I think what's important first, a bit of context behind myself, which is that I'm originally from England, but I've lived on the west coast of Canada on Vancouver Island for around nearly 13 years coming up this summer. And I worked at a modern rock station called The Zone at 91.3 for a decade. And then when the pandemic hit, I thought, well, now seems like a good time to push my passions to their utmost and to dive into building my own niche modern rock radio station. So What Was That Radio is basically a rock station with nothing older than the 2017 release. There's over 5,000 bands. 90% of the playlist are released from 2020 onwards. It's about just purely diving into the most modern, awesome, galvanizing rock and roll and all of its subgenres that get me going. Long story short, I split all my earnings 50-50 to give back to the community that support me. and also to support independent musicians around the world. That again, galvanize being the key word, and my soul being the key sentence. And that's the long and short of it. And I've been just dazzled by your ability for the last 5 years since I discovered the first Standards EP. And it's just so cool to fucking speak with you, man, because you just seem like such a wonderful soul and you're so crazy talented. And I thought the first thing I'd ask is, what is the importance of D, A, E, A, C sharp, E?
You're familiar with the tunings, with the alternative tunings?
Some of them.
Okay, cool. Yes, I mean, yeah, if anybody's listening and they don't know, like when you tune an electric guitar, you have something called standard tuning, which are the notes E, A, D, G, B, E, right? So if you pick up any guitar, it's in tune, you're going to have that tuning. A big thing for newer guitarists, I mean, it's been around for a long time. It's not a new concept, but something that has been more and more prevalent I've seen is the concept of alternative tunings, which is that you can retune a guitar and sort of get a new sort of sound out of it because you will change the strings and therefore the relationship between the strings, right? So D, A, E, A sharp, D, A, E, A, C sharp, E. It's like Midwest emo. That's when I think of it, you know?
Expand on Midwest emo, because I've seen you speak about that before, and I'm intrigued as to what you categorize that as and who you sort of place in and around that.
Yeah, Midwest emo, I think it kind of started a lot with, like American football, Captain Jazz, a lot of like Kinsella Brothers bands. If you're familiar, if you're not, then check those guys out. Mike Kinsella, Tim Kinsella. There's another one I'm forgetting, but characterized usually by twinkly guitars, sort of like emo, passionate lyrics. There's been a lot of revivals of Midwest emo. So you have like Algernon Cadwallader or Tiny Moving Parts, even bands coming out now and they're like strictly Midwest emo, but they would call it Midwest emo because it really started in like Chicago, but there's lots of bands from the Midwest of the States. So when you tune to that tuning, D, A, E, A, C sharp, E, you really get that sort of like twinkly, emotional sort of sound kind of right out of the bat. It's really easy to kind of lock down that style with that tuning.
And that's what I adore about everything that you've done, is that the layering, and you have those sprinkly, sparkly layers on the top that just add so much energy and emotion to it. And I love as well, I mean, I've just come back from work, so I should probably say to you that what I do on the side to make sure that I can build shrewdly what was at radio after leaving a really solid job is that I work in a produce section chopping fruit. So today I've chopped watermelon and pineapple and half of the song titles of your flipping records over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's just a random stab in the dark, but what's the love of fruit about? Did you work, because my first job when I was 13 was stacking bananas, and then I was always fascinated with working with produce. And I did that in a stint before I moved here for radio. And then I've done this now to get back in and move my body aside to keep building this. So where's the love of fruit, as basic as that might sound, as of a question?
No, yeah, it's like it very much works with the sort of like sort of the way that the music sounds. It's very like fun and like upbeat. It's just very much a good, I think, visual image of it. And I think it was something that we sort of started to do, but people latched onto it really hard. Like people show up to shows dressed in fruit or like gifting us fruit. It's kind of just our thing now. So we just kind of go with it.
Do you have a particular fruit that you want as a gift? Have you come to learn that some don't last as long as others? So if you could bring maybe a banana or a papaya would be all right.
Yeah, I mean anything is great. It's just hard because it's a rock show, so we don't have like a full kitchen, or we don't have like a way to like actually consume it easily. But it's still very much appreciated. We put anything that we get, on like on a merch board or something like that. That's kind of the main sort of look right now.
There's a band called Ubiquitous Synergy Seeker from Toronto here in Canada who, for the best part of a decade, would have a smoothie break. And in the middle of a show, right before the last sort of 3 songs into the encore, they would just make a smoothie. Have you ever felt compelled to make a smoothie on stage with all the fruit and veg that you get?
Again, yeah, that sounds good. Have to get more into that, like more into blending fruit. It sounds actually very funny and good. I would be down for that.
Just because you've had such incredible drummers that have teamed up with you for the last 4 or 5 years, And I just feel like there's an opportunity to maybe have a blender going, get it mic'd, and have some sort of blender drum off at the same
Yeah,
time.
you should be our manager, dude. You're coming up with all these killer ideas.
Man, it's just so cool to speak to you. But it's really important that you let me know if you've got a sound check or you've got to do whatever. Like, I just make sure that you let me know so you can go and get on with it. But I don't usually write notes, but your music is so, I just like to go with it in the moment. I don't like, these are very much conversations. I don't plan interviews. I believe that you need to share a bit about yourself before you can expect to get an answer back. But I did make notes on my lunch break when listening to Fruit Town earlier. And with Smile, I wrote, there's almost for me, I can't place my finger on it. It's like a sort of underwater effect that leads into the chorus. And it's this sort of like that sort of sparkles in there. And I adore it. It's this sort of what that is going around. And I really wanted to know what that is, because it's like a recurring theme throughout the record where you so tastefully use that sound to add this great character to certain points of the song. What is it?
So you're talking about in Smile before it goes into... I'm sorry, I'm confused on which part exactly.
What to me with my basic arrangement would be like essentially going into a chorus. So we've got like intro, verse, and then right at the end of that verse into the chorus, there's that layered texture. I could play it to you if you want. I can play it through.
Yeah, if you play it, then I'm assuming it's a synth. I'm assuming it's a synth of some sort, but if you show me, then yeah.
Okay, let's confirm it. Let me put it down so we don't fucking deafen anything here. Skip to about 40 seconds-ish. I actually just went right past it. It was at 20 seconds. It's almost like a Mario character laughing at you in the background.
Oh, it's just like a little baby, it's just a baby laughing. It's just the sound of a baby laughing.
That's not actually, is it?
Yes, yeah, it is.
Okay, well, that kind of shits over my theory of it being a synthesizer as well.
Sorry, just one sec. I actually ordered some food. I'm gonna go grab it live on the air.
No sorries needed.
Well, we're gonna have that interaction film. Let's see if I can grab it.
Is it an Uber Eats?
It is an Uber Eats. Hey, how you doing? Thank you so much. Banh mi, delicious.
All right. Well, I was hoping to something like I didn't know if there would be a meal opportunity here, if there would be a sound check opportunity here. This is great. Let's go to the kitchen with Marcos of Standards. What have we got in here today? Are you going to put your belt on? That would be so fucking adorable if you put the belt on right then.
I realize I'm not going anywhere. I'm just sitting here. So yeah, no problem. We got banh mi, tofu. Might have a couple bites. We'll see.
No, please feed yourself. Yeah. No, if we can, let's get a look at it. Let's critique the restaurant. And just to touch on the chat comments, we got Bill in the chat right now who has adored you since day one. Is so excited for this chance to chat. We got Hope in the chat who says, I really dig how you're digging your own music and bopping along. And we got Jodie and Harley upstairs as well. That's my partner and her 8-year-old son who have converted me to love the tofu, which I just bought a bunch of after work today to get ready for a roast after this, maybe, if not tomorrow. But let's get a look at this. Let's get a look at this food. Talk us through it, Chef Marcos.
So I'm in Nashville. Not usually known for its Asian food, but the banh mi has been something that I've been really digging. So let me get a good shot of this here. So here we go. Ooh. Got some lovely tofu there. Got some cilantro, jalapeno. Looks like a little bit of like noodle or something. Carrots. Yeah, all the pretty traditional banh mi stuff. Vietnamese sandwich, really, really good. Highly recommend it. It's pretty much all I've been eating on this tour. It's just so good.
Do you find that you get hooked into a habit of a certain food because it helps with the flow?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that banh mi is more or less healthy. It doesn't need to be hot or cold, and it is delicious. So I think finding food on the road that fits all three of those things, very difficult. Good luck. Ramen, no, I don't eat meat, so none of that really works. Sandwiches basically work, and it's basically a sandwich. So, But yeah, let's see how it is. I'm curious.
Yeah. I wish I had.
Very curious.
I wish I had. Let me search my sound effects and see if I've got something that sets this up.
That was pretty good.
That's a bit too dramatic. That's too dramatic. No, that's not right. That's we don't want any whips in there. Is it worthy of this comment?
That was legitness.
I don't know.
Yeah, 100%.
Does it make you want to run around the car park and do this?
It will in about 15 minutes, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Let the energy just digest a bit and get into the system. So it looks like this might do. This would do. Yeah. There we go.
Cut to the shot of the banh mi. Perfect.
We are gathered here today to watch Marcos eat some Uber Eats ahead of the Nashville show tonight. Cool. Okay, sweet. All right. It's more important that you eat than it is that you speak to me right now. So just eat.
And man, keep it coming. I just need a bite or two. I don't like to eat, or I don't like to play fully full. So I'll probably actually stop now.
Yeah. How do you even prepare for this tour after 2.5 years of no tour?
Well, we did some other tours, but they're much shorter. Let me digest a bit, and then I'll get right into that.
I'll just supply some stupid. What have I got here? For those that have recently joined this conversation with Marcos and myself, John, he's Standards, I'm John. Just a food break. You know, what's really, really key for anyone, any day, whether you're a guitar player of the high ability that Marcos is, some might say world class. He said it in his own YouTube. I know it was a funny skit where he was just sort of basically taking the piss out of himself and saying that it was his mum's favorite son, and he is the only son, from what we believe in the YouTube channel sketch at least. But it's imperative that as a human specimen that you eat. Otherwise, you're gonna have a really fucking hard day. You have no energy, and it's going to be a real struggle. Now, I don't know if that's enough time and that Marcos has consumed enough. Okay. So how do you even prepare for a tour?
I love that, though.
After 2.5 years of no tour, you've had these mini sets. So what you did, like little weekend 1, 2, 3s, or how did you go about it? How did you feel about it?
The thing is, I think it's a misconception that the performance is hard. The performance is easy. That's the easy part. What's hard is getting yourself around the continental United States, like in one piece with enough money to get from place to place on time. That's the hard part to me. So for us to prepare for this, we actually got this vehicle. I'm in this Toyota Sienna. I bought this outright for very little money and fixed it up. So that was like a big challenge. I had to like get it smogged. I changed everything with a friend of mine, and I had to take it to a mechanic for some other stuff. That was pretty difficult. Finding some people to come with me, challenging. Making sure we had enough merch, making sure that we have enough time to go from place to place. You know, logistics, boring stuff. I think people sometimes think like, oh yeah, music, you know, it's all cool stuff, it's all fun stuff. But the reality is that like a lot of it, especially these days, is just taking care of like logistics. So that's kind of what it was. I mean, I wish I had a cool answer for you. Like, yeah, I was practicing, like doing weekenders. I was doing like 6 hours a day of guitar rehearsals. No, I already knew the songs. The songs are great. Like we're crushing it. I'm really happy with how it's going. But that's easy. Once we're on stage and we're at the venue, first we got to the venue on time. We got everything checked. Everything sounds good. There's no technical issues. Then we play, and that's fun. You know what I mean? But the other stuff, that's really the stuff for me that is difficult. I know it's not a very sexy answer, but it's the truth.
No, I'm not looking for sexy answers. This is the long story short is that I'm an absolute musicologist and nerd and love context. And so when I worked in commercial radio and you would get conversations and interviews with people, you get 10 minutes, you get 3 questions, just speak about the 3 main things. I love flowing into all those unexplored avenues, because it's not that it's not sexy or that it's boring. It's just it's crucial to exploring how you go about doing what you do. I've been in bands before, not in bands that have gone across the US like you've done, but within, you know, a small realm of Canada and the UK and stuff. Not at all the same, but I've got an inkling of what goes into it. And it's just so fascinating how everyone sets up their own shop to go and do it, you know. But the situation with you is that when it comes to recording, when it comes to doing everything, it is just you. And then you lean on friends to help you out with it. And so that is what just blows my mind about this record, is that I don't know if it's like with most of these songs that you've built interludes into the middle of the songs. That's where my mind goes. Like, I'll listen to something 15, 30, 60 times in different moods, happy, sad, and all in between. Shout out to the guy with the red shirt at the back of the shot there who's just walked by. He seemed like a nice guy. And
yeah, I don't know where he's going.
You have these wonderful moments that might be only 2 seconds or 5 seconds, some maximum 15 seconds in your songs, that just all of a sudden say, hold up, wait, okay, let's go again. And it seems very purposeful. And every song, when you go through Fruit Town, it seems like it's the older sibling of the one before. The flow is so meticulous, and it seems so particularly thought out as well. And I mean, yes, you could say math rock, and I love how you sass yourself in that YouTube video of, does anyone really care about the crazy guitar math shredding going on? I do, an awful lot. But how do you even how do you approach, where do you start? Because you must be like me and having thousands of thoughts going on. So do you just hit record and go and then layer up when you feel you've got a good idea? Or do you have a particular process where you sit down and maybe you, manuscript time and write it out and go, okay, I'm just going to sit and write it out first, then go back, play, see if it flows? How do you start to create standards?
Like musically, yeah, well, that's a massive question. I think it's like with guitar music, I approach it differently. I think it's like conventional music. I think that a lot of people listen to, it's like a vocal, it's like a riff or a vocal. It's like a main idea, right? With guitar music, it's different. It's not cut and dry. It's not like we have a chorus or we have whatever. So the way I think about it is you're expressing yourself with the guitar. So you have like sort of like a main hook idea, or you have some sort of guitar concept, and then you can explore that. So even, for instance, there's like, it extends to like guitar techniques, and then from there, you can go into different sort of like ways to organize those things. So yes, it's quite challenging. I mean, I definitely focus mostly on the guitar as a guitar player, but yeah, I'm very focused on drums. I'm very focused on other elements, and I also think it's good to have these like what you call like little interludes. It's like, it does get quite tiring for me when I hear some other people that make guitar music, and it just is like nonstop, like shredding. It's cool that we live in like a time when that's like a thing, but like, oh my God, it can get so just overwhelmingly challenging to listen to if you're listening to something that's just constantly going. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There has to be like peaks and valleys to it, but it's like the self-restraint and like putting the song ahead of the guitar, like any other one particular instrument. It's kind of like the gestalt of it all, of like how the parts work together. So I think of it like that, even where it doesn't have to be necessarily like this is just about the guitar in the song. You know what I mean? Which can be difficult. It's not an easy like concept. You know what I mean?
One of my favorite things about the way, because you self-produce these two records for the most part, right? It's all you, isn't it?
Yeah, so as far as like the layers and all the stuff goes, yes, it's all me.
Because something that I adore about what you do is that you, for the most part, you keep that lead guitar of not necessarily effects free completely, but it's clean. It's so centered in the mix, in the sonic field. It's right there. It's always the foundation to go back to and lean on as a listener. And then you build usually a hard left, hard right, maybe something 25-25 in between that, and build out the soundscape around it. And it's so precise and it's so clean. And a lot of the time, just so much space can get filled up for the sake of it. Do you produce and write with a view to performing it live? Or do you just go with it and then go, I got to fucking figure this out later?
No, 100%. I mean, I think it's always important to consider how it's going to be done live, but also like if there's an idea where it's like, yeah, this is going to be not great to pull off live, but it sounds really cool, I'll just go for it. But I think that is sort of like my main shift recently. It's been my goal to like try to create music that, you know, I anticipate this section to come off this way live, or something like this is going to be a high energy part where it's going to be interpreted this way, or this part is going to be way more chill, and I don't want, you know, something like that. I think that's really helped in terms of like really getting through that songwriting process that you're asking me about.
Do you sort of set yourself an amount of time for a certain song before you move on to something, or do you go one at a time and I'm going to just destroy and deal with this before I dare open another can?
No, I think it's just better to go, you know, songwriting to me is not a job. It's not like a chore. So if I'm not really getting what I need, you know, because I'm going to go back and edit it and make sure it's the best song it can be. So if I just like, if I treat it like a job, like if something was a job to me and I just had to finish it by a certain time, I wouldn't do my best job. You know what I mean? Like if I had to sweep a floor and it's a big floor, I probably would start like skimming at the end if it had to be done by the end of the day. So it's like with a song, I'd rather just wait until I have an idea that I'm 100% sure. Because it's like, at least with the songwriting stuff, it's like you write a song and then, okay, you have to like hear mixes of that song for a couple months after you've recorded it, which is like practicing it. And then you have to hear masters of it. And then you have to like start performing it. And then you perform that forever, basically. So I don't really want to have a section of a song that I'm just like, oh yeah, I had to finish it really quick in that moment because I couldn't allow myself to move on to another song. It's like, and then sometimes I come up with a song and it's like a minute and a half long, but there's no second half. And I just never come up with the second half. And so I'm just like, well, this wasn't meant to be. I'm not going to like try and finish this if it just doesn't sound good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to have to perform this and then be like, yeah, this is that section that like, you know, I just was like, oh, I needed a second section, so I just made it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think I'd want to have more care than that. And in the past, I've had sections like that where it's like, yeah, this wasn't my best work, but I needed something here. And I just don't like that idea. So I definitely just do as much as I can with the, you know, with what I have coming out of me, just that I want to have. You know what I mean? It's not something that I like need to finish by any given time.
Yeah, you're just going to make sure that you're energetically feeling good and not force it because there's no point, because it's just a waste of
Right.
time. You're
Exactly.
trying to grind a stone with a spoon. I don't know if that's even an expression. I'm not sure where that came from, to be honest. Grind a stone with a spoon. Split a stone with a spoon. Start a fire with a watch. I don't know.
That sounds very Greek-ish, like Greek mythology. There's like some myth about that or something.
Someone may be more intelligent in the chat than me because I can't recall where that might have come from. Let us know. But what's this that Hope said in the chat here? Gestalt, is that how you pronounce it? Noun, an organized whole that is perceived as more than the sum of its parts. A great word, says Hope. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, I think it's Gestalt. I think it's German, but it's like, yeah, that's what I think of songwriting. It's, you know, it's all one thing and all the parts come together and then it's the song. But I think the reason that that's so important, I think that's kind of common sense, but I think with this particular style, it lends itself to focusing on one particular element over others. So that's kind of why I went there, because I felt like it's an important sort of concept to emphasize my point, you know?
Do you have a favorite on this new Fruit Town, or do you have a song that sticks out because you're proud of something that you hadn't done prior?
Yeah, of course, 100%. I think for this record, there's a lot of stuff that I'd never done because I took a lot of risks in that I didn't know how it was going to be perceived, but I really liked what I was doing because before it was just guitar and drums, sort of that sort of thing in a room, sort of live. Even on the record, that's kind of how I wanted it to sound. You know, very punk, very like just sort of bare bones. This record is a lot of layers, a lot of synths, sound effects, percussion, you know, and that's stuff that we throw in the backing tracks now live. It's still 2-piece, but it's very much more like produced. And it was a big risk for sure, like 100%. A lot of songs on there. One of them is 8-bit off of the new album. Like a lot of produced elements, like sort of 8-bit sounding, chiptune, Nintendo sounding stuff. Very, very like different from the first release going into this release. But like, I think that's probably one of my favorite bits about it is that it's just so different. I just thought, you know, okay, there's people I'm sure that really, really dig how this band started, but if it keeps going like this, I feel like it's just not going to be that interesting anymore. You know what I mean? So I really like those different directions. Also just adding more, I guess, like technical elements that are like focused on. So like our one of the singles is called Cloudberry. It's a very fun riff, and then it gets super technical in the middle. And again, like an addition of like 808s, which is not particularly common. Um, 808 bass drums and lots of different like synths. I'm just very happy with the direction that it's going in creatively. I feel like it's cool to be a band where there's nothing quite like it, and I think this is kind of going in that direction. Hopefully one day it'll become more and more like that. So far I think this has been like a step for me in like a positive direction creatively.
It's always fascinating to me when artists say that there's an element of worry about the next step in evolution, but at the same time, you have to keep growing. You have to keep pushing yourself as a musician. You can't keep doing the same thing. And so I just want to check what I wrote down on my phone for Cloudberry. Yeah, I said it feels like the older sibling of Smile leading into Cherry. Okay, the dueling left and right, pan guitars with that use of mysterious synth again. I really love how you lay your creations is what I wrote for that. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much what I ended up just writing for everything. Is just like, it's just so particularly placed. But let's just listen to a little bit of 8-bit if that's all right, like 30 seconds, just because you've mentioned it, just to place it for those
Go for it.
that are here. Bum, 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 bum. I just love that walk, that sort of. I'm a sucker for this exact 10 seconds. I skipped back 20 seconds too far now. I love it. Just that's how do you do that? How are you doing that at that moment? Because you've got that sort of walk back to walk forward into that sort of major minor collide into the blah, 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 explode into the next step. Bill's saying in the chat he loves this song too. It just when I watch you, I'm just blown away. It just gives me a headache. I can't picture how you can talk like that. And also as a drummer, it absolutely terrifies me because I'm not your kind of drummer. I'm like a classic. Let's go 4/4, baby. This is like unbelievable. And you're saying that you've got backing tracks. It's like a two-pronged question here. You've got to be so shit tight to make sure that you're drumming along to that. So that's the two part. I love that little walk step. How do you even do that? And then how do you find these drummers that are just dynamite? Every single one that you've collaborated with have been exceptional.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, so I like you're talking about like with the sort of the chords, like it starts and then it goes into that next part sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, that there's like I was also trying to, work a little bit more with like some chromaticism. So you have like, which is that's what in music school you would call that the root. So you have that motif, da 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 da, that sort of thing, and then beneath that you have some notes. So you would go to the root first, and then the next sort of step we would call it like a minor seventh. So it's otherwise known as like a mixolydian sort of thing, which it's just a major scale, but with a diminished seventh. So then you have that minor seven instead of a major seven. So, which makes a lot of sense if you go like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. That last one, ti, is a major seventh. I'm not a great singer, as you can tell, but it's a major seventh. With a mixolydian, you have that flat. So it's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, do. So it's like that, like almost Led Zeppelin, sort of like AC/DC sort of sound, like da, na, 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 sort of thing, instead of da, na, na, na. So it's more like AC/DC than Beethoven, something like that. So what that introduces is sort of like an unfamiliarity. And so what I was thinking there anyways was that playing it very safely with music theory and with the same sort of progression, if you change it up just a little bit at the end of a cadence or something, when you go into another part that's familiar again, it introduces some tension and then you resolve it. So when you introduce that mixolydian and then you start walking it down, so you go like root, minor seventh, major six, then minor six. So you begin sort of like a Beatles walk down, like what you're saying, and then into the five, which is kind of like a resolving chord. That goes, and then it goes back into the section from the beginning, and the section from the beginning, is familiar territory because at that point I think it's like a minute and a half in. So at least to me, when you introduce all these different tonalities, it it really throws the listener off, but then you bring them back to a place they've been before. So it kind of creates this interest. Whereas like if you loop a section over and over again, you have the same chords, you have the same everything. It's pretty boring. So that's kind of like the idea behind that particular section, but also just sort of what I'm thinking when I'm creating the stuff. I don't want the song to, and it's not that people are going to listen to that and think that, but you feel it emotionally. You feel a little uncertain because the chords are changing, right? But not in a bad way. And I sort of like, this is new, and then I bring you back to a place that you've been, right? So I think it's littered all over the album. It's something that I definitely try to do more deliberately because it is challenging, like doing that sort of stuff and having it emotionally land when you don't have like a vocalist, you know? So that definitely like helps. And then the sound effect at the end there is just kind of this sort of intriguing, like new sort of thing, you know? So it all is kind of working together to have like a specific purpose. Um, and then the second question was just about drummers. Um, yeah, I love drumming. I was a drummer, and I'm more of a guitarist, of course. Um, but I feel like as a drum and guitar duo, the drums have to be solid. So the drummer that I'm probably going to be working with for the end of time now is Moses. He goes by Popo Beat on Instagram. Um, and yeah, he's amazing. He's one of those guys that just loves drumming, and that's kind of why I think he's so good at drums. Is if you really really love it, you're going to be really really good at it. And he also knows like all of mutual friends. There's so many great drummers in LA, and they have like the LA drum scene where it's they all are just ripping it together. They'll like go out in the middle of nowhere in like a beach or something and just play with each other, and it's beautiful because it's like rhythm in itself is so communicative. I think people kind of dismiss it sometimes as like there's no melody, there's no whatever thing, but there's so many ideas and so many ways to communicate back and forth with that. And that's something that I definitely look for, as because I think standards at its core is like drums and guitar communicating back and forth, right? One idea here transitions to the drums here, one instrument leads and one instrument follows, and it's sort of this like subtle dance that's happening the entire time. So yeah, I definitely think that's kind of why I felt that I've been working with drummers that, like as you said, have been like very like into that, is because they all are paying attention to these sort of aspects, which is kind of like the recipe for success, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I mean, speak to the two guys that were on Fruit Town, because if you're, did you just do the guitar parts and had a rough drum beat in mind, or did you have, knowing you've got these two incredible friends, you can say, I know you're going to go batshit here, just play with it, go do it.
Yeah.
How'd you
Well,
form the song
there's
around
definitely
it?
some. I have to lead a bit, because it can't just be pure chaos. Because I think it's all intentional. Like as I've just kind of nerdily explained, a lot of this is intentional, and it's like so. I definitely have like some very rough drums. It did. Some sections will be more fleshed out than others, depending on how particular I need it to be. Um, and so on the album, it's my friend Forrest Rice who plays drums for another band called Covet, and he played drums on all the tracks on the album. And it was definitely a moment sometimes where I was like, hey man, for this section, just like let loose, like do your thing, because that's really going to be your time right here. But then here you need to just like, in for instance, in like Cherry, there's that big intro and then the drop. It's a very simple drum beat, and I'm sure as a drummer you can recognize it's a part that's not too difficult. It's really just 4 on the floor, and there's not really anything hard to that. And I think that was almost more challenging to try to convince Forrest to do, because he's like, yeah, but there's all this cool stuff that I can do. And I'm like, dude, I totally get you. But in this part, if we just keep it simple, it's going to be so much more effective. Like, I promise, I really think that it's going to work out better. So sometimes it is that like we have to pump the brakes, because there's moments where like we can just go as guitarists, as drummers, or whatever. It's almost like with more skill, the more responsibility you have to have with that skill. You know what I mean? in my mind anyways, I think motivically it's important to like really translate these ideas. And so sometimes it just needs to be as simple as possible so that people really have something to latch onto. And then from there you can grow the ideas and make sort of this like hierarchical pyramid of, you know, technicality.
Yeah, there's that way, or you just go full fucking Dragon Force and just
Yeah.
doesn't matter. We're here for 18 minutes and it's going to be quite the adventure. Strap in because your neck's going to hurt when we're done.
100%.
Actually, let's listen to a bit of whereabouts, how far into Cloudberry was that? Or should I just play it from the start?
Cherry, for the simple section, it was probably about 15 seconds in.
Okay, let's just start here then.
That's the top of the song.
My computer's frozen, so I can't move my mouse just yet. We'll have to let it just play it out.
I mean, it's close enough, right? But like this section here, maybe about 5 seconds. And then it gets a little more complicated, you know.
Yeah, honestly, mate, I just get so lost listening to your music because it's just so spectacular. You can, you know, there's no vocalist. Yeah, that's fine. I mean, this is not what you. If you wanted a vocalist, you would have fucking had one, or you would consider trying to sing. And I love all the context that you've shared and the thought process behind why things are structured like this, why you produce songs like this, why you write like this. But for me, any mood, you know, there's something that sticks out each time. Whether you're happy or sad, it's raining or it's the heat wave like we had this past week. There are just elements that constantly come out and hit you. And this is a go-to situation for me. Usually if I'm at work and, you know, human beings can sometimes be interesting. And it's just great to sit down on a lunch break and put it on and just eat a sandwich and just have the adventure and the world that you build guide how that break's going to go. Like it just chills me out for the most part.
Yeah, totally.
But it must be hard if it's just because with this record with Fruit Town, I'm presuming most of it is at home in your room during a pandemic. How do you have people that you throw ideas at? How do you go through this whole process by yourself for the most part until a drummer friend steps up?
No, I mean, I'm pretty much just conceiving of the whole idea myself. It's just like, all right, well, this is probably going to be cool. I mean, we still have to track real drums. We still have to track, you know, real guitars because I'm doing demos. Maybe I'll keep some of the guitars that I track because they're basically how I'm tracking it in the demo phase is how I'm tracking it in real sort of time. Like I'm just using an amp simulator at home. But yeah, I mean, it is basically just, okay, well, I want to make sure that this idea is good from the start because I have been stuck in some situations where it's like I'm really trying to save the song. Like I don't really dig how this is going, you know, and I've gone to the part where I've even recorded everything and I'm just like, yeah, this song's just not very good. Like I just don't want to release this. So if I start with an idea that's like I think really, really good and I'm like, I really want to see this through to the end, I can kind of in the process of, you know, sending it to drummers, sending it to whoever, like really get to the bottom of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, similar to when I spoke to Sarah from Illuminati Hotties a few weeks back. You two have a very similar way of going about. I don't know if you've ever met Sarah or seen Illuminati Hotties or know who they are, but amazing band out of LA as well. And just a very similar style in the sense of it's just her. And for the most part, yeah, if the energy's not right, don't force it. Just walk away, move on to the next thing. It might cause a pile of work you can come back to and be inspired to create something later on. But let's, aside from nerding out about the music, which is awesome, let's nerd out about your favorite fruit.
Okay.
All right. If you had to make a tier list of your 10 favorite fruit, how would you even start to order it?
Oh man. Do you have one of those like screen share thingies with like a tab? Because we could actually do that. Make a tier list for you. It's hard to like. I'm a visual person. I don't know if I can. I think I can screen share on here, or you can as well.
What screen
Because we're
share
on the
like
Zoom call, right?
let's open up Microsoft
If you look
Word.
up like fruit tier list, it'll give you like a bunch of pictures at the bottom, and then it'll have like A tier, B tier, etc.
Oh, right. You want to go one step further to see, you should be my manager. You're coming up with great
because I'm
ideas.
gonna forget where's what. So if you just like drag it all there, we can, and then you can kind of fight back and be like, hey, actually, I don't agree with this decision here.
All right, let's see if I can screen share my second monitor here. Share screen. Which one we're going to go with? We'll go with this one.
Oh, perfect. There you
go. It does seem to pause you on my stream. Let me just see if I can open that back up. Oh, what's going on here? Why has it shrunk you so smally? All right, as long as you can see it, let me just quickly adjust it for those watching on the old chat. We're going to remove that. We're going to add a new screen capture, window capture, add that source. Go to Zoom. No, it's still frozen. All right, interesting. Let's bring back the original, the OG. So I guess what it does when I share the screen, are you able to, this is ridiculous, but let's try it. Are you able to take a screenshot and then look at the picture of that so that we can see your reactions on the stream? Or is this too far?
No, I think we can do that. Let's give that a shot. So, so for this one in particular, I just took a screenshot of it.
Okay.
For this one in particular, I would change it up just a bit. Usually you could like drag and drop your sort of things yourself. But yeah, why don't you just give me a couple and then I'll just sort of like give you my opinion on them or something.
Yeah, all right. You've taken control of this question. So according to this tier, I was just like, let's see if you could just rattle off. I thought you might say to me, well, you work in a produce department. Why don't you tell me 10 fucking fruit? But it seems here on this tier list that the very top, there's coconut, papaya, figs, blackberries, raspberries, strawberries, rambutan, persimmon. Then there's A tier is avocado, mango, pomegranate, peach, blueberry, cherry, pear, dates, cantaloupe, starfruit, Asian pears, grapefruit.
Well, that's too fast. That's so much.
Right?
That's so much.
Well, that's why I said just from your gut. Like, what's your go-to?
Okay.
Actually, I tell you what. What's the most common fruit people throw at you on the stage? Pineapples, bananas, bag of grapes.
It's been so different recently. I don't think it's been any particular one, if I'm being honest. But what I can do is go through the tiers here. Like for me, S tier, I have to go with avocado. It's just so good. It's so good on everything. It's not like a fruit that's more situational. It's really something that you can eat pretty much with everything. I mean, I'm from California, so this is kind of my thing. I would put that in S tier. I think pineapple, probably S tier. I think it might go in A tier just because sometimes it hurts to eat because it makes your mouth sore. But I think it would probably be an S tier for me. I think apples go in B tier, solid fruit, but not really that entertaining or exciting for me. Just kind of like whatever. I'm gonna put honeydew in C tier. Even fresh honeydew is just like whatever. It's just not my.
I don't get it.
My thing.
I don't get honeydew. I don't get cantaloupes. Like we cut those up a lot to put in different melon packs with watermelon, and they just don't do it for me.
Yeah, it's just not really my vibe. I'm gonna have to agree with you there. Strawberries, like a really fresh strawberry, like farmer's market, probably put that in S tier. It's just so good, so freaking good. The thing is, a lot of fruits, like some people might have had them, maybe they've been sitting in the produce for a little too long, or it's hard to have fresh things. I'm thinking about the absolute freshest stuff that you can get at like a farmer's market or something. That's probably my inclination. Let's see what else we got here. Pears, solid B tier.
Oh, it might be sound check time, is it?
Huh? Looks like I'm not exactly sure. No one's playing for about 10 minutes, so should be good until then. But
The show starts in 10 minutes. Oh my God.
the
Okay.
first band's on in 10 minutes. Yeah.
All right. Let's probably let you go in a minute so you can fucking get ready for your own show.
Yeah, sorry, it's just difficult with the timing and all this stuff, where it's like a 24/7 job, you're waking up and then you have to go and then you're in the car, so that's like kind of impossible. And then you get there and you have to set everything up, and then this was probably the best time that we could meet.
No, I really appreciate it, man. It's so cool. It's so cool to get the chance to speak to you. And even if, if you're down to do it again, we can always pick up and continue when this is over or when the next record comes out or whatever happens in the future. But what is so, all right, I get we're doing a tier system here.
I mean, we can go on indefinitely, I think, with that you might have to bring me back and we can kind of go through it like step by step, like every fruit. And that would be probably pretty dope.
Are there not fruits that you looked at as a kid and thought they were a nightmare, that you just would never try, and it maybe then you got to like
blackberries?
You thought, right? Just why? What didn't do it for you about them? Just shifty looking?
Yeah, weird looking. I don't really like still how they taste. I mean, I'm not an adult, so I'm not like, oh, I won't eat this or something. I'll eat it, but it's not like I'm thinking about blackberries and I need to go have blackberries. It's you know what I mean?
Because a lot of the times when you pick berries, like, oh, look, there's berries growing in our garden, I'll go and pick those, and they're so sour. Or they just attack your senses. It's a bit risky.
I like them sour. I don't know, maybe that's just me. I like them that way.
Oh, right, okay. And you're a fan of the pineapple, but it hurts after a while. I get that, because for the first few weeks of cutting pineapples and coring pineapples and all sorts of flipping ways that people want their flipping pineapple, I realized it just dries your skin out really, really fast. There's just something about it that gets you going. Okay,
yeah, it's a little dangerous.
Pineapples are dangerous. Yeah, we can put a danger tag on them for sure. Actually, I'll tell you a story. Someone before I let you go in 5 minutes, someone came into the store a few weeks ago and asked one of my colleagues if the corn had a tag on it, and my colleague said, "What do you mean it's got a tag on it?" And they said, "Are there like electrical tags on the corn, or can I just walk out of this store right now with a couple of kernels?" And he's like, "Well, there's no tags on it. I mean, if you had the audacity to walk out the store with it, you probably could try." And so this old guy just picked up a handful of corn and fucked off. Walked straight out the front door. Because I was just
probably wouldn't get let back in though.
I don't think anyone really bothered to figure out who he was, and I wasn't there that day, sadly. Otherwise, I would have been like, "I'm not going to let this guy steal our corn."
It's unhygienic though. It's kind of unhygienic to just pick up a bunch of corn and then I don't know, just like take it. I don't know if it's with all the other corns and all that. It seems kind of weird.
Well, yeah, I mean, he stole corn. Because I was just reading about in New York last night, they're now like putting these packs on all produce and cans in stores because I barely read the news article about apparently the theft is up on certain supplies in New York, and they're putting them in these fucking locks like it's a Nintendo Switch or a graphics card or something.
Good to know. We're going to be there in a couple days, so...
Just an extra step before you get to your papaya,
right. Right.
So, well, then the last thing I'll ask you is, now that you're back, look, firstly, you should be really proud of this record. Fruittown, I think, is just outstanding.
Thank you so much, man.
It is. I am the ultimate nerd and love that you nerded out on the intricacies of how you've built this thing. But what were there any ideas that you thought, no, not yet, maybe next? I don't want to have too much change or too much development. Or did you throw all those ideas into Fruittown?
No, I definitely think there's much more room to grow. Like, I'm definitely more interested in like adding these sound effects, like layers. I've been messing around more with the guitar itself. I think on this record, the guitar in some ways takes a back seat a bit to some of these ideas, which is not a bad thing, but I think a lot of people that like our band are guitarists and they want to learn the songs to like play them. And I think for this next release that I'm kind of demoing out even now, it's like, I think there's going to be a lot more interesting sort of guitar nerd things that will also be balanced out by like similar sort of things. There's going to be something for everybody, but I'm very excited to like get these guitar ideas out there,
Okay, and the last two things we're going to squeeze in is, it sounds like you went to music school, and pardon me for not diving in too far. So where was it and when?
I went to California Institute of the Arts and I got my bachelor's, and then I got my master's at Berklee School of Music.
Fantastic. And then when was the first band? How old were you when you first joined a band? Were you a guitarist in that band, or were you drumming? And at what point did you feel, I just want to fucking take the lead and do this myself?
Yeah, I think so. I played in like punk bands all throughout high school and stuff, and it was cool. But I thought, all right, well, you know what? Maybe I can be like a gun for hire. Like I'll play gigs, and all I need to do is get this amount of gigs per month to like pay bills and stuff. And I did that for a bit, but it was yeah, it was hard for me. I think because I was seeing the way that some things were going and how some things were run in certain bands, and it was like, I can't really say anything about this, but this situation is not being run well. And so it's like a question of like, either you just shut up and do your job as, you're sitting there and playing the guitar, like you leave and you do something else and you do it yourself. You can't really make so many complaints and then not actually do it yourself. So I thought, all right, well, I think it's time to make that risk. And it wasn't scary at first because I think being in a band, you have to be really good with social skills. You have to like talk to people and like, you know, people have to like you. They're not going to want to like labels aren't going to want to talk to you if you're like super crabby. They're not going to be whatever unless your music is super amazing. And even then, people will get tired of you if you're difficult. So you have to be good at talking to people. I wasn't very good at that. Like there were some people in bands that are just very good at like warming up to people. Ladder climbing sort of conversations. It's like very very intricate. It's not as simple to me as like playing the guitar, which is like I can sit and figure out the guitar, but like trying to figure out how to get someone to like be like, oh, okay, this guy's in this band, he's cool, we're gonna take him on tour or whatever. That like proved to be a little harder. So yeah, that was definitely like standards for me. It was like starting that, trying to get those relationships for myself, not just playing in somebody else's band.
It's almost like to compare back to when you were talking about your songwriting technique in the sense of I don't want to force it. It seems like you felt like you were forcing having to be interactive and make connections, and it just wasn't. It just took time to grow into that. That's kind of a major reason as
Yeah.
well why I stepped away from commercial radio. Is that I very much just we haven't got time to speak about it, but just things as a kid that meant that I was searching for my identity, and I've been making radio demos and doing stand-up since I was like 11 years old. And I wanted people, and I don't use the word want very often because I feel it's very aggressive. Like love and hate is used very loosely. Love might mean you like something, hate might mean you don't like something, but it's the words that we use all the time now, and they just seem really aggressive. But it just felt like after 10 years in the industry and feeling comfortable with who I was, and I was like, I don't need to worry about buttering people up all the time or trying to get this job by being good to this guy and making shows for him, because it's not making shows for me, it's making shows for him. And it seems a similar parallel to you in the sense of you want to do Marcos as Marcos is. You don't want to have to necessarily fit the mold for someone else. And the only way you're going to not fit the mold is to not even try and dip the toe in it or get anywhere near it. Just do your own thing.
No, that's primarily it. I think you hit the nail on the head, and I think that's kind of why I like it so much. It's like I really get to do my own thing, and I think I'm starting to like bring people into it. We have labels now, and I have like a drummer that I really like working with, and this is the first time we've toured with like crew, so we have like two people helping us. It's usually just like me, drummer, and another person. It's like now we actually have like it's definitely changing, but it's good. It's all in the direction of positive growth. Music, everything that's going in that way. I think it's all going the way that I would hope that it would go. So it's a celebration of definitely my progress and hopefully the continued success of the band.
Yeah, here. And let's leave it at that, because I want to make sure that you get in and get yourself sorted. The show starts
I want to see, yeah,
in
we're
8
touring
minutes.
with Glacier Veins right now, and they're about to play, so I want to go in and support them.
Yeah, go do it.
In the car, as much as it's been great to talk to you.
No, Marcos, no, you are on tour, my friend. I really appreciate you squeezing me into your schedule. I appreciate the non-sexy answers because they're just as sexy to me as sexy answers could be if we ever got there, but we got there because that's what they were. And just go and have an awesome evening. I really appreciate your time. And maybe we'll speak again if the universe lets it happen. But if we don't, you're awesome, man. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, man. Yeah, you know where to find me. And thank you for having me on. All the listeners, current, future, past, whatever.
Yeah. All right, mate. I'll end the meeting and let you get on with it. Have an awesome, awesome night and safe rest of tour, okay?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Cheers.
Talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye.
La-di-di-di-di. There we go. All right. Oh, when the sun comes through the window and it meets the artificial light. What does it mean? What does it mean?
It means watch out.
I just wanted to use that one. Sorry.
All right, everybody. It's time to wrap up this stream. I'm going to go and have some dinner and hang with the familia, if I may say such a word. I love this megaphone effect so much.
It is the golden hour, Bill. Thank you all so much for being here. Let's just check through the chat here. Asuka, Bill, Hope, Jody, Harley, Lyle, Manning Wilkins, Perch Life. Perch was over there in Ontario. And also OAX2. Not sure if you're a bot or a real human being, but thank you. You do give off bot vibes, but thank you. And Nightbot, who is absolutely a Nightbot. We appreciate your service. We appreciate your time. We appreciate you making sure that, or whatever it is that you make sure happens, that you do that. Bill, thank you for the kind words. That was just so lovely to speak to him. As expected, just so intelligent, so grounded, so wonderful. It was just a great chat with Marcos. I had nightmares last night that I was going to call him Carlos. And then when I started writing down, I wanted to write down on my... I wrote Carlos by accident because I was going to write Marcos multiple times so that I didn't mess it up after a day of work before the play, which is what this is. So yeah. Okay, here's the thing. If you are a What Was That Radio patron, you're going to have access to this in the next couple of hours after dinner. I'll get it on YouTube unlisted, and then it will disappear here on Twitch. So if you've recently joined this or you've stumbled across it beyond 6 p.m. Pacific time, please do be aware of the fact that all the chats here on twitch.tv/whatwasthatradio will disappear in the not too distant future, most likely either tonight or tomorrow. And if you'd like to support myself and What Was That Radio, a station that is all about modern rock from 2017 onwards, that's the oldest we go back, for over 5,000 bands and artists with a 2020 onwards 90% situation of that playlist. That sentence came out the wrong way round. Situation. Where's my first time in this stream? Unbelievably the first time in this stream. Second time in this stream. Feels like it should have been a triplet. So it was. And yes, I split all my earnings 50-50 for those who support me via Patreon. More information on that at whatwasthatradio.com/subscribe if you're interested. It's a 24/7 radio station. I go live 3 times a week in between whatever my schedule is at Quality Food, Stacking Produce. And there'll also usually be at least a stream or 2 a week. But the conversations, they ebb and flow, right? As these performers are moving around in this new world that is a new world, that means they could tour again on this new world that is still the same world that feels new even though it's the same world. They've got a flow. So we work with it, right? Whether it's Australian performers and I'm on here at 1 a.m., whether it's Nashville and it's 5 p.m., whether it's England and it's 8 a.m., keep an eye on whatwasthatradio.com's homepage for all the announcements of these conversations. Otherwise, whatever you're doing the rest of your day, and as always, please look after yourself. I hope there's some fun and smiles involved in the rest of your day too, because we've got to cherish that positive. Until next time, I appreciate your time and cheerio.